What's going on, Dandy Crew? It's Dandy Drew here, and we are back for another Reacts video. So, Colonist ended up doing a really cool feature on me and my Catan story. It's not too long of a video, but I wanted to watch it with you, react a little bit, maybe add some little tidbits if there's some insights that I can kind of fill in the gaps with. But yeah, you get to learn about how I started into the game, kind of my progression, playing online, and then obviously a little bit about the USA Nationals as well. So let's get into the video. Hope you enjoy this. I'm also going to leave the links in the description to the Colonist YouTube channel. They're doing a lot of cool story stuff related to the community. So really cool to see them also get into the game. All right, let's get into the video. The mind-blowing story of Catan's greatest player. Maybe.
This is Dandy Drew. He just became the US Catan champion, and he'll be facing the best players in the world for the Catan World Championship in March. In this video, we'll dive into his journey to infiltrating the ranks of the best players in the world, and of course, how he beat everyone at the US National. If you've ever tried to learn Colonist strategy, you've probably stumbled upon Dandy Drew. Over the past couple years, Dandy has grown into a sort of Colonist celebrity. Known for his consistent high-level performance, Dandy Drew has become the source to learn about strategy and watch some great gameplay. And this might make you think, well, he's probably been playing Catan forever, but nothing could be further from the truth. Chapter 1, The Rise. It wasn't actually until 2016 when Dandy Drew encountered a Catan board for the very first time. During a party where some board games were being played, the best kind of party, and perhaps in not the most sober condition, Dandy played his very first game. And to start a legendary record, Dandy was crushed by his friends during his debut. Perhaps not particularly motivated, our protagonist would not play another game of Catan until the following decade, which is just 4 years later, but it sounds more dramatic. It was around 2021 when Dandy Drew, playing a game of the Catan Game of Thrones version, actually fell in love with the game. Blame the Game of Thrones aesthetic, the desire to beat those particular friends, or the fact that Dandy found himself in a slightly more sober condition, but something clicked for him during that game. From then on, Dandy Drew would embark on a journey to become the figure that we...
So yes, I did actually play the Game of Thrones version. That was like the first time I actually took it serious. We were at a friend's house on a game night. But what was kind of cool is there was 4 couples there, so there was 8 of us. So what we did is we played teams. So it was like my girlfriend and I, and then all the other couples kind of teamed up. So a little bit of an interesting situation, like 8 people trying to learn the game of Catan together. But yes, I did lose that game. I was, if I recall, like just a wood brick demon and had no clue about development cards, no clue about city building. It's the first steps of Catan. What are you going to do?
We all know and love today. His first steps were probably similar to anyone watching this video. Inspired to dominate his Catan playing friends, he went on YouTube and searched for some Catan strategy. This led him to stumble upon the Lighted, a figure that would come back during his story. Being a chess fanatic and having gained some new strategic insights, Dandy Drew was inspired to obtain the Catan Grandmaster title online. After obtaining...
So the Catan Grandmaster title, for those who don't know, because primarily a lot of people play on Colonist nowadays, Catan Universe, which was the previous platform that was really kind of like the flagship before Colonist came about, they had a ranking system for the ELOs. And like, you know, how they do Diamond and Platinum for Colonist, well, one of the titles on CU was Grandmaster. Looking back, it wasn't very difficult to get. I think you just need like a certain amount of, not too much ELO, but that was like a fun little first foray into Catan, was like trying to get that title, especially coming as a chess player. I was like, not good for the ego, but what are you going to do? But yeah, it was cool.
In a matter of weeks, this early accomplishment planted a seed in his mind that continued to germinate over the coming years. With the realization that he could actually play competitively, Dandy Drew's eyes were set on the next challenge, the Discord communities and their weekend tournaments. And unlike the underwhelming experience that we mere mortals have during our first tournaments, Dandy Drew won his very first tournament. This, of course, contributed to his motivation and momentum. And he went on to sign up for basically all the competitive...
Yeah, so that is true. My first ever online tournament in the Discords, I played in Catan community, and I won it. And it was like obviously that was like, oh, a really cool moment. But I really hope for some of you that want to play competitively, like get involved in the Discords. I get a lot of messages from people that say like, Drew, I'm 15 or 1600 ELO. Do you think I could play in these tournaments? It almost doesn't matter because these tournaments stand alone as a proving ground in himself. And no matter where you're at, you can always go to these events and improve. So if you have interest in getting involved, you can always join the Dandy Crew Discord, which is below in the description. But I highly recommend, like, if you want to step up your game, play these tournaments, join the Discords. Like, this is where the best players are being built. And for good reason, right? It's just kind of like an ecosystem, an echo chamber of all these great ideas and feedback loops that are happening. So yeah, kind of rare to win your first tournament, but hey, that was cool.
Of Catan he could find. Dandy Drew actually went on to set the record of tournament wins for Catan community, winning 9 tournaments in under a year and a half, and he entered the scene of the leagues, a longer form of competitive Catan. Leagues go by monthly seasons, and after 14 seasons, Dandy was able to claim the D1 championship, completing yet another milestone. Once again, Dandy Drew collected an accomplishment which made him think, I can actually win tournaments. During this early momentum, Dandy ventured into one of the most iconic experiences in the space, traveling to play a real-life official Catan tournament. For a change though, Dandy Drew did not leave this tournament victorious. In fact, it took him 3 more qualifiers to make it to his first US National. However, funny enough, Dandy Drew and Delighted actually met each other in person for the first time during that tournament, and they both reached the final. And it was actually Delighted who defeated Drew in the final to steal the victory. Although, I won't tell you how that game went.
Yeah, so this is true. My first tournament experience, I flew up to New York City. I met Dylan there for the first time, and then we took a 4-hour bus ride to upstate New York to a little town called Bradford. And it was great. We had a great time. That 4-hour bus ride, I got to really get to know Dylan a little bit more and speak to him. And I definitely wasn't quite the Catan player I am today, but that was kind of like our first experience together and getting to know each other. And then we spent the whole weekend at this campsite playing in a Catan tournament. Just kind of funny, you know, these little steps that you never know where it's going to take you. But yeah, good experience. It was a great finals. And as Sergio said here, I did lose it to Dylan in a very close game.
Went just yet. This is the very picture taken then and there after the fact.
I was at the airport.
Yes, let that sink in.
At the end.
Dandy Drew was a delighted fanboy at one point. This, however, more than a trivial encounter, was a foreshadowing of the collaboration that would bring the community one of its most iconic characters. Chapter 2, YouTube. In March 2023, a collaboration took place that would have a profound impact on the Catan scene. Remember, Dandy Drew started his journey in the Catan strategy world watching Delighted. And only a couple years later, in a full circle moment, Delighted recruited Drew, who was then the #1 ranked. A couple years later, in a full circle moment, Delighted recruited Drew, who was then the #1 ranked player on Colonist, to coach him through some games. The collaboration spanned 3 extremely well-received videos, which amassed over 250,000 views. The amount of reception and support that the saga received inspired Dandy Drew to start his own channel, and the rest is kind of history.
Yeah, so I do give Dylan a ton of credit. We did 3 or 4 videos of me coaching him. They were received extremely well, and that kind of just gave me a bit of a push in terms of, hey, maybe I can start to post myself. And that was really cool. I'm very grateful and thankful to Delighted or Dylan, whatever you want to call him. And it really did help me in the early stages. And it's just nice to know like there are people in this community that are willing to put others up and platform and help grow the scene. So yeah, really big help. Now I was streaming. I did a lot of streaming before I did YouTube, but obviously things went to the moon after I started posting online. So
Dandy Drew became the fastest growing channel in the space, gaining 11,000 subscribers within 1 year. In under 2 years, Drew's channel has grown to be the 2nd biggest channel posting Colonists, and he has built an extremely rich community. He posts extremely consistently, showcasing gameplay and strategy at the highest level, as well as the odd lesson here and there. In fact, our protagonist is quite fond of teaching strategy, so much so that he started the Settlers Intensive, the most comprehensive Catan coaching program ever. With an A-team that features some of the strongest players in the world, TSI is designed to take someone's game to the next level. Players leaving the program become incredibly strong on Colonists. And now, Dandy Drew has put all of his knowledge into a new course for all levels, which you can learn more about in the description. And after breaking all the records...
Yeah, so as you guys know, I've been doing the Settlers Intensive. We've had 4 successful runnings. A total of 60 students have come to the program, and we are going to be doing TSI 5. So this will be the kind of the official first announcement of it. If you are interested in learning more about it, I do have in the link in the description all about the dates, what to expect. And at this point, we've had so many people go through the program and so many people recommend it that I'm happy to share any kind of reviews, put you in touch with any players. It's a really cool experience, and it's even cooler to see all these players that are having so much success during and also after the program as well. So yeah, if you really want to get involved with high-level Catan and learn probably the fastest route to do it, I highly, highly recommend TSI. We put a lot of love into it, and luckily the results are showing.
To breaking all the records imaginable and taking players to the highest level, Dandy Drew was ready to face one of the most iconic beasts of all, the US Catan National Championship. Chapter 3, US Nationals. Even for one of the best players alive, winning consistently is extremely challenging. As mentioned, it took Dandy Drew 3 qualifiers to make it to his first US Nationals, where he did not excel the way he's used to. But of course, it did not stop there. It's June 2024, and Dandy Drew is determined to make it to this year's Nationals. So he ventures into his regional tournament in Florida. Rising victorious against over 25 serious players was not going to be a walk in the park. At least it wasn't supposed to. But Dandy slayed through the tournament, winning every single game and ending 4-0, of course, qualifying for the US Nationals. Again, this is a 4-player game where the average win rate should be 25%. This is not normal. Something was different this year. Drew's demeanor and sort of unattached determination seemed to bring out his best game. In fact, during the wake of the US Nationals, Dandy released a video to his audience where he announced his departure to St. Paul to play this very tournament. And I must confess that watching it, I thought to myself, he has it. But as Dandy Drew admitted himself in the video, no matter how skilled or determined you are, things have to go your way to walk away with a trophy at a tournament of this caliber. The first day of the US Nationals, there are 125 players, and every single person plays 4 qualifying games. Assuming you make it through, the following day you play the semifinals and the finals. Dandy finished his first game with 7 points. This was a brutal start because in a qualifying stage like this, not only do you have to win games, but you have to score points. This is because points are used to differentiate between players who have won the same number of games. So starting with 7 points meant he only had 2 scenarios to reach 2 wins and 36 points, which is usually enough to make it through. Drew either had to win his 3 remaining games or win 2 and get 9 points in one of them. But
by the way, the music's pretty epic. The music's pretty epic. And I just want to make a note here. Obviously, he's talking about 2024. We all know what happened there. But like what it took me to get there, like I had to fly to New York, lost to Dylan. Then I flew up to Ohio, lost to somebody else. Then I flew back. This was 2023. Finally won that one, went to Nationals, lost that tournament, had to come back, went to Florida. Like, this is the thing you guys don't see behind the scenes is like all the work and all the dedication it takes to like get to the top or to win these big events. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of effort, and you're going to have a lot of losses along the way. So yeah, I think Sergio's done a fantastic job kind of telling the story, as concisely as he can.
But luckily, Drew did just that. He won his next 2 games and managed to leave the last game with 9 points, making it through to the semifinal. Let's talk about the semifinal. Remember, back in his first real-life tournament, Drew lost the final to Delighted. What we didn't mention is the fact that in that game, he pulled 7 nights in a row, where a single victory point and probably anything else would have given him the win. However, years later, the Catan gods decided to balance out Mr. Dandy Drew's luck, because Dandy pulled all 5 victory points in the US Nationals semifinal. Yes, 5 victory points out of the 6 development cards that he drew during that game. So, after pulling a behemoth...
See, this is also another aspect. Like, when you're playing Catan, because there's variance, there's luck, there's skill, sometimes you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. And it's funny, there was a lot of people when I won USA Nationals were saying, oh, he was lucky, or he got this, or we got that. Like, you don't see the times that I don't get lucky, in this situation, that finals with Dylan. I was pretty much on the verge of winning for like 40 minutes, and I ended up just pulling night after night. I missed cards, I missed rolls. So at the end of the day, as long as you stay on the path, all of it bounces out. I think that's like the journey is all you got. The process is all you got. And I think that's like the most important thing if you want to get to the top in any field or any endeavor that you want in life.
And he made it to the final round, the US Nationals. In the tournament, you go around the table deciding what turn you want to be in to pick your settlements. And this order is decided by how many points you accumulated. Drew was forced to choose his position, but ironically was left with first position. Although he had what many would take as an obvious choice, Dandy decided to bet hard on the wheat, which was going to be relatively rare that game. And ultimately, he started with 12 points of production on wheat, a wheat port, no ore, and no brick. Dandy decided to focus on a setup which would require him to cooperate with other people. And he trusted that his communication skills would help him. And that's exactly what happened. Without producing a single ore, Drew was able to build an early city on his best settlement, making him produce even more wheat so he could make use of that wheat port. Drew managed to get some early momentum, but there was a big turning point for the game. With 12 cards, Dandy rolled a brutal 7 and was forced to discard. Now, one of the most interesting moments of the tournament took place right here. If you've played Colonist, you know that when a 7 rolls, people offer NB or no block for a certain resource. Now, in official Catan tournaments, this sort of extortion is not allowed because you can't discuss any resources before placing the robber. However, a silent extortion deal took place instead. Instead of offering a resource, someone said, "I know what you're looking for." And again, without naming a resource, Dandy asked, "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" By the nodding of his head, Dandy knew he had the ore he needed, and he carried out his silent extortion deal. And although the discard was brutal, he managed to get a settlement and a victory point that turn, minimizing damages. Ultimately,
Yeah, so that was a huge play. I mean, it was huge in a couple different facets, but obviously having a monster hand, 7ing out. And these are just like the subtle social things that you need to be clued in on when you're playing these tournaments or these kind of games. It's like, you know, that's the other player that was saying, you know, I know what you're looking for. A lot of players wouldn't catch that in the heat of the moment. The nerves are getting to them. This is why being able to remain calm, to have a certain sense of presence on where everyone's at on the board, you've got to find these opportunities. And yes, I turned a 12 card down to a 6 card into a VP and a settlement. You know, these are the things. These are things you got to be clued in on. So huge opportunity for me. I probably lose the game if I didn't catch this moment.
Dandy managed to exploit his setup to build 2 more cities, and again with a slight smile from the Catan gods, pulled a 3rd victory point to bring the tournament home. Dandy Drew's journey is filled with success, yes, but behind the scenes there's a few things going on. On one hand, there are thousands and thousands of games that Dandy Drew has been a part of, and these give him an insight into the game that most can only dream of. And on the other, there are countless of unlucky games that he had to play in order to finally have fortune on his side when it mattered the most. But the journey is not over. The national winners from every country will soon gather in Germany, the birthplace of Catan. In April 2025, the best players from all over the world will meet in Stuttgart, and only one will rise victorious. So good luck, Dandy Drew. We'll see you in Germany.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, great video. Big kudos to the Colonist team and Sergio for the content they've been putting out. I think they've had a really cool angle to almost more of the storytelling aspect of it. And yeah, I think that was summed up perfectly at the end. It's like what you guys don't see is the amount of experience that has gone into kind of building my game or building my knowledge base. But then obviously just the determination to deal with the losses, the setbacks. And it's never really a setback. You know, if you're always learning from your wins and your losses, in that way you just keep getting better and better. And I think that's been a big part of my story. And for those who know me, I'm a big believer in the 1% mindset every day. It's like every day, if you can just get a little bit better and better, that compounding effect will be huge. And it doesn't matter if you're playing Catan or if you're investing or you're building relationships, just try to get a little bit better each day. And, you know, luckily for me, it had some pretty nice dividends and gave me a pretty nice story. So yeah, really thankful for the Colonist team and Sergio for putting this together. I hope they're going to highlight other great players as well, which there are many of them that are deserving of such a thing. Very cool. Yeah, leave your comments below if you enjoy this kind of Reacts content or other things that you want me to take a look at in the Catan scene and give some feedback or breakdown. It'd be a cool little addition to the channel. Obviously, the gameplay is our first and foremost, but yeah, I also enjoyed the pace of this kind of stuff too. All right, guys, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe, not only to me, but also the Colonist channel as well for putting this together. That's all I got to say. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace out.